Okay, kiddos, so today we're gonna have some fun. I'm gonna be going through the movie 13 Ghosts while making some commentary and nitpicking at some things that don't make sense. For comedic purposes, of course. Parts of this movie still scare the bejesus out of me, and I learned early on that my defense mechanism is comedy. So to face my childhood fears, I'm gonna be making an ass out of myself. So, nothing new. And as a fun little game, any ghosts that appear on screen, I will rate them 1 through 10 based on how threatening they are, and if I could take them. With all that being said, let's get into the 2001 horror classic that is 13 Ghosts. The movie starts off with ominous slow motion shots of a junkyard with a bunch of yellow tape around it, which tells us something has gone terribly wrong. And by the looks of how much yellow tape there is, it's gone terribly wrong more than once. This truck obviously doesn't care about property damage, but I'm pretty sure they're here illegally, so who cares. We then see multiple groups of men popping out of trucks with raincoats as they start fiddling with machines and doohickeys. Side note, that's the first and final time I'm using the word doohickey. We then see a car from the 1900s pull up, and how did I never notice this? Why and how do you still have this car? You know how much maintenance and patience you have to keep this thing functioning? We're not even 2 minutes in and I have so many questions. The man dressed like a retired Dracula is named Cyrus Kritikos. Funky last name for a funky looking man. We then also meet Dennis Rafkin, a psychic, although he's more like a reverse psychic. Instead of seeing your future, he sees your past. Your pain, your joy, your pleasure, I think. Side note, Dennis is played by the amazingly wonderful Matthew Lillard, and being completely transparent, he carries the fuck out of this movie. This film wouldn't be half as entertaining if he wasn't in it, I promise you that. Dennis is trying to get drugged up to take the edge off, as he claims, but I'm confused on what kind of meds these are. Do they have specific meds for psychics? Anyway, Dennis is having some issues as he realizes the ghosts they're trying to capture, oh yeah, they're ghost hunters by the way, has accumulated more victims dead compared to when he was alive. Oh, and we'll get to our spooky friend momentarily, don't you worry. We then see 2 people getting detained by Cyrus's lackeys, and I'm sorry, do we have protesters at a ghost hunt? And if you think I'm being overly critical, look, there's only 2 of them. Guys, pack it up. The cause isn't worth it. Go stand outside of a Target, you'll get more traction, I promise. From what I gathered, this is Damon and Kalina, and they're not very happy about Cyrus's little hobby, seeing as that he's capturing tortured souls and all. And as much as I understand their argument, they are protesting for the capture of a ghost who was a known serial killer. The moral high ground here is getting misconstrued. Who are you advocating for? I'd feel worse for the people he killed rather than him himself. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's doing just fine. I hate to be the jackass here, but I think I'm on Cyrus and Dennis's side. Anyway, one of the serial killer culprits outs Cyrus for lying to Dennis about the 13th ghost, as he was only contracted for capturing 12. Which I mean, at this point, you might as well take one for the team, Dennis. It's only 1 more. Cyrus calls out the bait for the ghost, and a truck comes around the corner shooting out strawberry Kool-Aid. Not sure what that's about, maybe it was his favorite flavor. Dennis's shaggy senses start tingling and he gets out of Dodge. They then start the transmission of demonic gibberish and the man of the hour appears, which makes me think you didn't need the truck full of blood. Like, he didn't appear until they started playing the transmission, so why not save yourself the trouble? Also, where did you get a truck full of blood? What, did you steal from donors? Hijack a blood drive on your way here? Maybe it actually was strawberry Kool-Aid. Something I noticed on this watch around is that some of the men are already dead. Like, there's body parts on the ground when he knocks these cars over. Did no one notice or hear murder going on behind them? I mean, I'm sure with the Star Wars Alien Jam track in the background, it's hard to hear, but people start getting murdered after this, and they were noticed. Anyway, our friendly neighborhood giant here is folding people like an Auntie Anne's pretzel and knocking multiple stacks of vehicles over like he lost a game of Jenga, all while Dennis is somehow avoiding being manhandled, quite literally. Cause of plot, I guess? And we finally get a clear shot of this extremely violent being. This is the Juggernaut. Real name Horace Mahoney, which if he wasn't 7 feet tall and grotesque looking, I'm sure he would have gotten scrutinized for other reasons. Cause who the hell looks their son in the eyes when they're first born and says Horace? Also, 7 feet? And he decided to be a serial killer? Boy, if you don't take your ass to the league. Anyway, the town shunned him and his mother abandoned him, so his father took the responsibility of raising him, putting him to work in a junkyard crushing old cars. And I'm sure they had a machine for this, but with what we've seen so far, I wouldn't be surprised if Horace was just hawk smashing these things by hand. He's done nothing so far to make me believe otherwise. Unfortunately, Horace's father would pass away, and shortly after, Horace would go mad. He would then start murdering multiple female hitchhikers that he would pick up on the side of the road, tearing them limb from limb with his bare hands and feeding them to his dogs. And hey, say what you want about the guy, but at least he was a responsible dog owner. We have to start finding the redeeming qualities in people, you guys. Horace would meet his maker as one of the girls he picked up one day was actually an undercover cop who pulled up with an entire SWAT team. He was apprehended, but the police stupidly used regular handcuffs? Which, I don't know if you've met Horace, but the man has otherworldly strength. Get some cuffs made of vibranium or some shit, or whatever Thor's hammer is made of. Regular cuffs ain't gonna cut it. 3 more officers die, more SWAT pulls up, and Horace dies in a hail of bullets. Which, showing how many bullet holes his ghost has, this man was extruding heavy Michael Myers energy. Just kept getting back up. They put an extra round into him as he falls to the ground and he's finally down for the count. Man literally went out like Scarface in his last scene. On a scale of 1 to 10 of threatening, I'm gonna give Juggernaut here a 15 out of 10. I would get destroyed. I'd rather fight Mewtwo with my bare hands. Moving on. Bodies are being flung around and this poor fella finds himself locked in a containment cube with Juggy. I nicknamed him Juggy, by the way. Dennis is trying to get through to him and sorry Shaggy, I hate to break it to you, but the love taps on the glass and the sound dampening is not gonna help your case. I don't think he's listening. Also, him being a murderous psychopath, I'm pretty sure that plays a major role here as well. And it's funny that I'm calling him Shaggy as he didn't play him until a year later after this movie came out. But you'll always be Shaggy in my heart, Matthew. Juggy is caught and disappears and the dust fades. Dennis finds Cyrus, who was killed off camera, kinda lame. Oh yeah, and Damon was killed too, not sure who really cares. We only saw the guy for a few seconds and all I've gathered is that he's a snitch. So I'm probably biased. And why did you two not leave? What, you just saw the massacre going on around you and thought, maybe I'll chill for a while. Also, she's just watching him die. Put some pressure on the wound, Kalina. Gods are useless. After this jam-packed opening scene, we cut to an Activia commercial. I mean, 2 siblings playing in the backyard. The children of Arthur Criticos, who can be heard in the background with his wife Jean. And this looks like a very loving and happy family. But everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. No, I'm just kidding. But the house does burn down. Arthur and the kids make it out, but unfortunately, Jean is caught in the flames. She is saved, but later succumbs to her wounds in the hospital. We cut to a few years later, I think. Either they didn't specify in the movie or I'm blind, but the family is down on their luck at a small studio apartment. Now, I hate to sound like a jerk because this is a very sad situation. However, no one had insurance on the house or your lives? You mean to tell me you live in this big ass house and neither one of you thought of investing in something if anything goes wrong? Mr. Monk here looks like he's in his mid to late 40s. My sister is 30 and she got life insurance years ago. What's your excuse, Arthur? Anyway, we then meet our main cast of rowdy individuals. Arthur, as I mentioned earlier, his daughter Kathy, his son Bobby, and the babysitter Maggie played by Rod Digger, which is probably the most random thing you'll see in the movie. Oh wait, I was proven wrong. It's Allison's dad from Teen Wolf. What do you know? So wait, let me get this straight. We got Monk, B-movie scream queen Shannon Elizabeth, Allison's dad from Teen Wolf, Shaggy, and Rod Digger. It's like this photo in a nutshell. Just everybody in the industry and J. Cole for some reason. He's so out of place he looks photoshopped. What are you doing in this room, Cole? You're supposed to be antisocial. Also, rewind a bit. Why are you paying for a babysitter? You're a school teacher. Shouldn't the kids also be in school? What, is Maggie getting paid to watch the house? And maybe it's summer vacation and he's teaching summer school. I get that. But Kathy here looks like she's in her late teens to early 20s. Can't she just watch Bobby by herself? Shoot, in black households, as soon as you hit like 10, you're officially the babysitter. Sometimes even younger than that. Does Kathy also work? Because that's the only thing that makes sense here. Seems like a very irresponsible use of the money you keep claiming not to have, Arthur. I'm on to you. Anyway, Allison's dad. Oh wait, he has an actual name. Ben Moss. Huh. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep calling him Allison's dad. Allison's dad informs Arthur that his uncle Cyrus, yes, these two are related, don't know if it was the receding hairline or both their last names being Criticos that gave it away, but his uncle Cyrus has left him his mansion, which sounds nice until we find out, 1, Arthur barely knew Cyrus and says he only met him a couple times, as a kid mind you, and 2, Cyrus squandered the family's fortune. Bitch, don't leave me a message now. You're the reason I'm behind on my mortgage. Haven't seen you in years and you pop up trying to give me a mansion. This is gaslighting at its highest level. Allison's dad gives Arthur a key that looks like it would set off 17 booby traps simultaneously in an Indiana Jones movie, and they all scurry off to see their new house. And this is said house. The lawyer stated earlier that Cyrus liked his privacy, so it's in the middle of nowhere. But come on, the entire house is see-through? I mean, yeah, you have these metal panels scattered around the house for some sense of privacy, but we couldn't get like a 5% tint on this bitch? Anywho, they arrive at the house, and what do you know? Dennis is here. And apparently he's gotten himself a new job since Cyrus got packed up. The lawyer is giving him a hard time, but Arthur is a pal and decides to let him in. Arthur puts the key in, and their fate is sealed. Also, I hate to be that guy, but Bobby here? Annoying as hell. I'm sorry, he's a cute kid and all, but they insisted on him being absolutely obnoxious in every scene that he's in. This place is honestly off the hook. Did I just get out of a time machine from the early 2000s? Why the fuck did I just say that? As cool as this house is though, I couldn't imagine living in it on a daily basis. I'd feel like I'm about to break everything everywhere at all times. Also, Alice's dad here is giving me the heebie-jeebies. I don't like these faces he keeps making. Dennis heads to the basement in hopes of finding the money Cyrus owes him because you can't really pay back your debts if you're dead. And while having a psychic episode, he makes a terrifying revelation. The ghosts are in the basement. Why the fuck did I just say it like that? I sound like Patrick in that one episode of SpongeBob. The maniac's in the mailbox! Also, I don't know how I feel about Dennis having semi-orgasms while dead people are flashing on my screen. Look at his face. Is this pain or pleasure? I can't tell. In a crazed panic, Dennis heads back upstairs to tell Arthur about the oogly booglies in the basement. By the way, I haven't mentioned it yet, but Shannon Elizabeth, Fine as hell. She is glowing throughout this entire movie. Good lord. Side note, I looked up whatever happened to her. She left acting and moved to South Africa to dedicate her life to wildlife preservation. And you know what? Good for Shannon. She's living her best life. Just shows you that all that glitters isn't gold. We cut back to Dennis still trying to convince Arthur to leave the house, and can I say Matthew Lillard is probably the best actor in the movie. I failed to mention that during these scenes it keeps cutting back to Maggie and Bobby, and honestly, their chemistry is so cute. I love this. As annoying as Bobby can be at times, this is wholesome. Enjoy it while you can because things are about to go downhill. Dennis is having another episode and we start to see the kind of life this man has lived. I mean, imagine every time you make physical contact with someone, their entire life flashes before your eyes. During this, Alice's dad makes his way to the basement in hopes of finding the loot Dennis was looking for earlier. He also knows about the ghosts, although he's very arrogant since they're all locked up. You know, karma can be a real pain in the ass. Okay, if I was rating the ghost off aura, this one would get a 10 out of 10. It's like a young alternate version of Two-Face from Batman. And while I'm on the subject of Pretty Boy here, I might as well tell you his backstory because I got a lot of ghosts to cover in this video. This is the Torn Prince, real name Roy Clayton. He was born in 1940 and was extremely talented at baseball, hence the bat. In 1957, when Roy was 17, he would be challenged to a drag race by a greaser named Johnny. Unfortunately, Roy would die in the race due to his vehicle spinning out of control. Cause of the crash was said to be a cut brake line. How suspicious. Something tells me Johnny really didn't want to lose that race. And like I said, the guy's swag is on a million. Face half torn, leather jacket, his signature baseball bat, and the cherry on top, the literal car he crashed in is behind him with the smoke still coming out of it. Now, how threatening is he? I'd give him a solid 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10. Like, yeah, he's dangerous, but every middle-aged dad in the country has a baseball bat. Or a 12 gauge. We are in America. Doesn't really scare me, though. He's more cool than terrifying. Like, I genuinely want to be his best friend. Anyway, Alice's dad finds the money and somehow doesn't notice this giant machine moving behind him. The house begins to shift and our first ghost is released. And due to not wanting to be age restricted, I'm gonna blur all of this out. This is the Angry Princess. Torn Prince, Angry Princess. I see what they're doing. Real name Dana Newman, who was absolutely gorgeous, but didn't see it as her abusive boyfriends did not help with her self-esteem. You deserve better, queen. She ended up working for a plastic surgeon who instead of paying her in money, he would pay her in surgeries. She was essentially trying to perfect what didn't need to be perfected. She would foolishly try to perform surgery on herself and would blind herself in one eye along with some pretty nasty mutilation. She would then unalive herself in a bathtub by repeatedly cutting herself with a butcher knife, as seen holding in her hand. People will remark that she was just as beautiful in death as she was alive. Tisk, tisk, tisk. What a shame. On a scale of how threatening, I'm gonna give her an indefinite I don't know. A woman who looks like a video vixen walking towards me butt naked while holding a butcher knife? Probably the most confused boner I get in my life. And this is the part of the video where if any of my family members are watching, I sincerely apologize. Could I take her? I'm gonna move on to the next scene. As she's about to attack the suit, he gets cut in half by a sliding door, and this is probably one of the lamest kills in the movie. There are so many dangerously terrifying ghosts in this movie, and this guy gets packed up by plexiglass. Lame. Although the special effects in this movie are really impressive. Arthur and Dennis are looking for the other hooligans as they've scattered like roaches. Jesus, how big is this house? Kathy's in one of the bathrooms and the camera starts zooming in on the glasses. Oh crap, I forgot to mention. These special glasses are needed to see the ghosts. Without them, you can't see anything they're doing. A really cool concept, honestly. It's one of the more interesting things about the movie besides the ghosts. And unfortunately, the Angry Princess is right inside this room. Now, question, does she automatically turn the walls in every room she's in bloody? Also, this is one of the few instances where we see one of the ghosts come upstairs. They seem very keen on staying in this damn basement. Arthur finds Kathy and Maggie shows up to tell them she lost Bobby. And the house is shifting every few minutes, by the way. So be fully prepared for ghosts to be getting released left and right. Bobby is riding around on his scooter by himself and hears someone calling for him from the basement. Another question, can all the ghosts talk? Like, we only ever hear a few of them speak, and how did this motherfucker know Bobby's name? I guess they're ghosts and they can sense this kind of thing, but no one else calls for anyone else's name but his throughout the entire movie. We then cut to Bobby walking around this dark, ominous basement, and I gotta give props to the kid. He's a lot braver than I was at this age. I was not curious by any means. If I sensed any scary shit going on, I was steering clear. Doors are opening left and right and ghosts are being dropped like mixtapes. At this point, I'm convinced this kid isn't gonna make it. We check back in with the gang and Dennis explains how all of the glass in the house is shattered and soundproof. Also explaining that the words on the glass are containment spells. The ghosts can't cross past them as they have to abide by whatever the words say. Everybody rolls their eyes because of course everyone has to be non-believers until they get proven terribly wrong. Bobby is still roaming the basement and we get another look at a ghost we haven't yet seen. This is the bound woman, real name Susan LeGros, born to a privileged family and treated men like disposable meat bags, having sex with them and leaving shortly after. Kinda sounds like all of modern dating today. One day, Susan's boyfriend would catch her in the act and he would then murder both her and the boy she was with, burying the bodies at the 50-yard line of the local football field. When police finally caught him, he would be arrested and sentenced to death. Damn, what state was this? Immediate death? Right before his execution, his last words would be, "The bitch broke my heart, so I broke her neck." Ooh. That's cold. I kind of feel bad for her. I mean, yes, she was cheating, but I don't know if the punishment fits the crime. But as Chris Brown once said, these hoes ain't loyal. And her ghost is still wearing the prom dress she was killed in. All right, scale from 1 to 10, I'd give her a solid 4, maybe. Like, she doesn't seem inherently dangerous. Kind of looks like she's getting tased while doing the shoulder lean. I'd probably feel like an asshole trying to fight a woman whose neck is broken while also being bound. It's in her name. Moving on. Bobby gets spooked and obviously runs away, and we get a look at another ghost we haven't seen yet. This is the Torso, who is the ghost of a gambler. Real name Jimmy the Gambler Gambino. Kinda on the nose, but whatever. He spent most of his days making bets, and one day he makes a bet with the wrong person. A rich businessman, to be exact. They both bet on a boxing match, and Jimmy loses. He panics and attempts to leave town. The mob and one of the boxers catch up to him, and once they find out he wasn't intending to pay, they cut him up into several pieces and dump him into the ocean. Well, I guess you could say that went swimmingly. Get it? Because he was dumped in the ocean. Humor. Anyway, scale from 1 to 10, I give him like a 2 out of 10. This is not threatening whatsoever. Scary? Yeah. Threatening? Nah. I could outrun this thing easily, but I'm sure a nice speed walk would do the job just fine. I definitely would be shitting bricks if I saw this thing crawling towards me, but it's definitely not that threatening. Also, does his head teleport with him, or does he carry it around like a basketball? I'm rambling. Moving on. It then gets revealed that Gene is down here as well. Dennis, you have some explaining to do. Bobby is then abducted by Cyrus? Okay, the whole fucking cavalry is down here, I guess. Dennis and Maggie head one way and Kathy and Arthur head another. We then get introduced to another ghost, and spoiler, this is one of the big 3. Yes, 13 Ghosts has a big 3. We've already seen 2 so far. Who is this for? Like, Dennis is legitimately trying to explain the concept of ghosts to Maggie, and you got this motherfucker in the background doing demonic H&M photo shoots. Speaking of big guy here, this is the Hammer, and he's one of the ghosts I'm more conflicted on. I'll tell you why after I tell you his story. The Hammer, real name George Markley, was a blacksmith from the 1800s. He was wrongfully accused of stealing, and the townsfolk wanted him out of town. And kudos to George because he stands his ground and refuses to leave. The townsfolk didn't like this very much, so an angry mob led by his accuser kidnapped his wife and children and hanged them, burning their bodies afterwards. In an act of revenge, George beats the culprits to death. The townsfolk, in retaliation, torture George by driving railroad spikes into his body with his own sledgehammer. And for the final touch, they cut his hand off and replace it with his sledgehammer, handle and all. His ghost can be seen with the railroad spikes protruding out of his body and a sledgehammer for his left hand. Now, Dennis explained earlier that some ghosts who are killed violently are stuck in a tortured realm. Violence is the only thing they know. However, George wasn't inherently a violent man. He was literally getting revenge for the death of his family. Whereas the Juggernaut, for example, was a serial killer. These are 2 very different types of people. Oh yeah, and he gets a 30 out of 10. I'd probably melt into a puddle if I ever saw this man running towards me. I'd rather fight prime Mike Tyson. Moving on. We cut back to Cyrus and Kathy and they find Bobby's tape recorder, hearing his screams as he's taken away. Damn, then I got my boy Bobby. I love this scene. If anyone is familiar with the Jackal, you know that Dennis's fear is fully warranted. We'll get to him momentarily. Damn it, I thought we had longer. Kathy is attacked by the Jackal and Arthur is obviously very confused. I'm gonna be completely transparent. This long-haired, bad teeth, grimy looking fuck terrified me as a child. Anytime he appeared on screen, I went under the covers. And since we're here, let's talk about him. This is the Jackal. Yeah. The Jackal, real name Ryan Kunn, was born in 1887 to a prostitute. Can you say prostitute on YouTube? I guess we'll find out. I already said it twice. He had an insatiable lust for women, doing very non-consensual things and murdering them. Ryan would commit himself to Bournemouth Asylum, but after attacking a nurse, he would be put into a straitjacket and thrown into a padded room, going completely insane afterwards. Figures, scratching at the wall so violently that his fingernails would completely tear off. And after trying to gnaw off his straitjacket, they would then put a cage on top of his head. A fire would then break out of the asylum and Ryan wouldn't escape with the rest. He would face the fire head on, ultimately killing himself. His ghost can be seen with his straitjacket undone and the bars of the cage on his head ripped outwards. Now I gotta say, as much as I love this movie, my biggest gripe with it is the constant flashing. On one hand, it is a little scarier seeing the ghost fade in and out of reality. However, imagine being a part of the special effects and cosmetic team, working hours and hours on the design for the ghosts only for them to be seen by the audience in 5-second intervals. I highly recommend looking up the behind the scenes, and there are some really cool statues of some of the ghosts that were made, just for you to get a better look at the ghost designs because they're actually pretty awesome. Anyway, 50 out of 10. I wouldn't approach this man if they paid me. I'd rather throw hands with Goku. Moving on. Kalina comes around the corner to the rescue and we cut back to Dennis and Maggie, who have made a little friend. Good lord, this is about to be 3 ghost backstories in a row. I feel like I'm writing a book. This is the firstborn son, real name Billy Michaels, who was a huge fan of cowboy films. After the neighbor's kid finds a real steel arrow in his parents' closet, he challenges Billy to a duel, Mind you, Billy is using a toy gun. The neighbor's kid would shoot Billy in the back of the head with the arrow, killing him instantly. His ghost could be seen still in his cowboy suit while holding a tomahawk. If I'm Billy's parents, I'm beating the shit out of this kid. And also the parents. My man was trying to have a playful duel and got killed in cold blood. Now I'm also going to give Billy an indefinite I don't know, same as I did with the angry princess. Although instead of being confusedly horny, I'd be confusedly cautious. Like Dennis tenses up in this scene, so he's clearly dangerous, but come on, this kid's adorable. Take the arrow out of his head, close up the hole, clean him up a bit, and put him in one of those shitty Home Alone sequels, and you got a star. We cut back to Kalina giving Arthur a bunch of lore about a schematic of a machine some philosopher came up with while he was possessed. Long story short, devil machine, evil house, spirits bad. Anyway, Kathy somehow gets abducted without them hearing, and now we have 2 missing children, killer ghosts on the loose, and no Scooby snacks. What does this world come to? Things are going bad, my friends. Dennis is having a bat swinging contest with the Torn Prince, and he's currently losing. Kalina says they need to head to the library while climbing through a hatch, and the Hammer decides he wants to play tag. And this is the part of the movie where I call hacks. These ghosts can do all sorts of harm to me, teleport in and out of reality, use Jedi force powers, and all we get is these pussy-ass flares. This motherfucker Kalina brought fireworks and a spell book. Unless one of these sliding doors is a portal to Hogwarts, I don't think this would do us any good. And yet again, we run into new friends. This is the Great Child and the Dire Mother. 2-in-1 special. Real names Margaret Shelburne and her son Harold. These two have had a really hard life. Margaret was a part of a carnivore attraction due to her being 3 feet tall. She would have non-consensual things done to her by the tall man, another member of the carnival. Therefore, Harold was conceived. After Harold was born, he would grow to be 300 pounds, spoiled to the bone. The carnival employees decided they wanted to play a prank on Harold and kidnapped his mom. And you know, usually when someone wants to play a prank on you, they put your hand in warm water, maybe a whoopee cushion, put a bucket at the top of a door. They don't kidnap your mom. Also, I just realized all of those pranks are like from the 1900s. Shit, kidnapping your mom sounds like a prank they would do today. Anyway, Margaret would end up accidentally suffocating in the bag she was kidnapped in, because apparently these idiots didn't think to put air holes in it. Obviously enraged, Harold would kill the employees with an axe, displaying their bodies for customers to see. The owner of the carnival finds out and has Harold killed. These ghosts are always seen together, with Harold holding the axe that he used, wearing a bib stained with the food that his mother would feed him. Gonna give these two a solid 8 out of 10. Not really afraid of Margaret, but Harold here is a different story. No strength compares to a boy who loves his mother. Moving on, Kalina and Arthur would finally reunite with Maggie and Dennis after escaping their game of tag with the Hammer, and they make their way towards the library. By this point, most of the ghosts are out and about, and these slow motion shots of the basement with inverted whispers and cackles is freaking me the hell out. You can tell they also really wanted to show off the set design. It's like spooky flexing. After Dennis is an asshole to Arthur about losing his family, Jackie comes out to play. I nicknamed him Jackie, by the way. Holy shit, it's the Pilgrimess! Okay, so, ghost backstories. We've already met Jackie here, so let me tell you about the Wicked Witch of the West. This is the Pilgrimess. Real name Isabella Smith, an English woman who settled in New England during the colonial times. Due to her being an outsider, a wedge was drawn between her and the townsfolk, and after livestock began mysteriously dying, she would be accused of witchcraft. And anyone who read about the Salem witch trials can guess where this is going. She was sent to the stocks, basically pillory. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Pillory is basically when they put your hands and head in a wooden framework and display you to the town for public abuse. She didn't receive food or drinks and ended up dying of starvation. I'm gonna give her a solid 9 out of 10. Now yes, her hands are bound by the wooden framework, but she just honestly freaks me the hell out. One of the more underrated scary ghosts in the movie. Justice for my witches. Moving on. The gang catches their breath and Kalina ends up telling Arthur about how his wife's soul is trapped in a basement along with the other heathens. He justifiably puts hands on Dennis, and I mean, I would too. Kalina starts to go through all of the ghosts' names and what number they are. I'll put them all in order in the description. Basically explaining that these specific spirits were chosen for the machine to work. They're meant to open the eye of hell. Sounds so pleasant, doesn't it? Kalina then explains that the 13th ghost is meant to stop the machine's process. Instead of death, you give it a life. Arthur's life. Man, this got dark. Although, in Dennis's defense, how would you even spring this onto him? Hey Arthur, I know we just met, but by the way, I captured your wife's spirit and put her soul into a containment cube in the basement of the house you're about to move into. So is Criticos European, or? They grab some spell glass and headed to the night. Kalina and Maggie find the machine and a special guest pays them a visit. Wait, no, back up. You were in on it the whole time? According to Kalina, she's the one who killed Damon, stole the spells, and saved Arthur for the entire sake of the plan. That would explain why she wasn't putting pressure on his wound. She's the one who caused it. Also, they're able to see Cyrus without the glasses, so he's alive? Kind of? They never explained this in the movie. And if he did fake his death, why is he still wearing the same clothes? And his wound is still there. He looks exactly the same as when he died. We cut back to Arthur and Dennis, and this is probably the saddest scene in the movie. Dennis pushes Arthur behind the glass as the Hammer makes his way towards them. And if this couldn't get any worse, the Juggernaut is the last ghost to be released. Could have sworn he was out earlier. Oh, maybe that was foreshadowing. They end up tag teaming Dennis and he ultimately ends up dying, which we actually knew from the beginning. Yeah, I never mentioned it, but the scene with him and Maggie looking at the hammer in his containment cube, he would flip him off, and we would get flashed the scene of him dying. Kinda sucky they spoiled this from the beginning, not sure why, but whatever. Ah, great, now the best character in the movie is dead. Although at least they waited until the last 15 minutes to do it. As messed up as the things Dennis did are, he didn't deserve this. The man never lived a regular life. He couldn't form intimate relationships. He spent most of his time hunting ghosts with a man he thought was his friend. This is sad, man. Let me get a hashtag justice for Dennis down in the comments. Cyrus starts playing the demonic transmission like he did in the beginning of the movie, and all of the ghosts are drawn towards it. Couldn't have done this like 2 minutes earlier, Cyrus? Dennis might still be alive. Honestly, that would have been interesting to see how he would have reacted seeing Cyrus again. Arthur is distraught, but someone suddenly appears. Oh, it's Jean. Now this is a sad scene. However, I have one question. Where in the hell were you? All of these ghosts have magical reality bending powers. You couldn't have force pushed one of them off Arthur earlier? Or Kathy? The only thing she told Bobby to do was look out behind you. What the hell is that gonna do? Maybe could have even saved Dennis. Okay, now that's a little bit of a stretch. He is the reason you're down here. None of this makes sense. Cyrus kills Kalina for some reason and oh shit, the kids are alive. Arthur also runs into Cyrus and puts the paws on him. And hey, say what you want about the guy, but he's been running fades all movie. Unfortunately, Cyrus gets the one up on him, but oh shit, DJ Maggie to the rescue. She starts messing with the transmission and it takes the ghosts out of their trance. They proceed to pack up Cyrus, for real this time, by throwing him into the machine. And the goat makes one last appearance. God, I love him. Arthur makes an impossible jump and the house blows up, letting all of the ghosts free. Where are they going? Have we confirmed that their souls are moving on? Because half of these ghosts are a danger to society. We have to make sure Juggy isn't adding any more bodies to the junkyard. Jackie can't be within 6 feet of a woman. And who's to say the Torn Prince isn't cutting brake lines on NASCAR tracks? This is highly irresponsible. Anyway, the kids are saved and Jean makes one last appearance to say goodbye. Also, Jean, beautiful lady, not gonna lie. God always taking the fine ones. Friends, that was 13 Ghosts. I hope you guys enjoyed. I had a blast making this. It was all in good fun as this actually is my favorite horror movie. I'm sure people were expecting something prestige like Sixth Sense or Hereditary, but this movie is scary, sometimes goofy fun, and that's what I love about it. It's not necessarily a good movie as the concepts in it are a lot more interesting than the actual movie itself, but it's definitely a nice guilty pleasure. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please make sure to like and subscribe. My name is Greaves and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.